Believe
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the third episode of Fully Charged Europe. It took us a little bit longer because some of the five of us was actually asleep. I will not call any names, obviously, but he may or may not have been at a potato festival all weekend, which caused him to just be asleep pretty much throughout the entire, past 3 hours or something like that. He's here right now, Admirable. You were the guy who wanted this episode to happen. It happened. You're here. Everyone's here. How's it going, man? It's been a while.
Yeah, man, it's good. It's just a question that had been haunting my dreams. What can we do in the wake of I-49 to unite TF2 under one rule set? Is that even possible? I don't expect that to happen tonight, but maybe just start some sort of discussion. That's all I'm looking for.
I actually don't think that's too bad of an idea. We're going to have to wait and see exactly who comes from this discussion. We were looking for an American. But as I said, someone was at a festival and was asleep and wanted to arrange this, so it didn't actually happen. What we do have, though, is a European and an Australian. Now, starting with the European, obviously, I think, Kaidus, you've been streaming for the past, 3 hours or something like that. Hopping on towards the next show immediately. You have a busy evening, I guess.
Yeah, man. I work my way around.
What have you been doing? I saw you watching, a lot of the new teams that are coming up, just playing. Have you just kind of been analyzing what's going on?
Yeah, because Infused aren't playing that much at the moment. We're still recovering from LAN, and all these new teams are being formed. And I realized earlier that I didn't really know anything about any of them, so I figured I'd spend my evening just watching them and streaming it for anyone else who cares to see what's going on.
And Infused hasn't been playing, I guess, or have they just kind of been taking it easy?
We played a couple days, but people have a lot to do this week. I don't think we're really starting properly up again until next week. We played once or twice over the last 2 weeks since LAN.
Alright, sounds good. So obviously we'll see the new Infused lineup in play. And on the other side of the pond, no, not the American way, but the Australian way, yUKi are back home from an event which we will probably remember for the next, I don't know how long. First of all, how was it? I don't think you've been on an official show before with an official answer. So first of all, how was it, and how's the trip back home?
To the first part, it was a lot of fun. I mean, we only placed fourth, but as we said, if we're alive on the Sunday, we're happy, and we're pretty happy at least being alive on the Sunday, getting top four finish. But obviously a bit disappointed not getting anything higher than that. And the travel back sucked. It was 30 plus hours travel total, and we were stuck in Vietnam for 9 hours. 3 of the first of those 9 hours, some guy just had our passports, and he's just like, "Oh yeah, be right back. I take your passports." Okay. And then they finally sorted out our visas, and it was just a mess. And there were 30 other Australians who were just like, "Okay, where did my passport go?" So that was a bit special.
Those boys in Nam, I think that's just a problem in general. If there's anyone from Vietnam in the chat, guys, don't worry, I'm not insulting you. But if you keep 6 Australians, it was 6, right? There was just you,
Yeah.
you two? Yeah, there was no one else. I heard...
Well, 5 Australians and a New Zealander, so...
Yeah, but, oh god, who was there as well?
Semantics.
Comedian spoke, he had an interview with, the community, what is it, WM or something? I don't know, whatever.
Yeah.
He was there
he
as
wasn't
well,
with
so-
us. He was had his own agenda kind of thing. He was doing Critscast stuff and that kind of thing, from what I remember. So yeah, that was kind of cool.
Right.
But he helped us out a lot every now and then. One of the days we hadn't eaten, and it was 11 a.m. and he got us some food, which was really cool. And in the night, he just got us some beers, which was pretty sweet. So shout outs to Tim WM.
There you go. So yeah, you guys made it home, and obviously, with regards to this unlocks and rule set and maps and all that crap that we're going to be talking about, you're going to have a unique opinion in the way that we don't really see a lot of Australian Team Fortress 2 in general. So obviously, you've been there pretty much since the start. You're going to have a lot of opinions coming in from that one. And that's pretty much it. Admirable, I'm quite sure you have some sort of prefix about all of this, about what happened over the past 2 weeks, about just the reason why you got people involved right here. So I'm just going to say, you know what, screw this. You're going to have to take it away and introduce this what we're going to do today.
Yeah, you know what? It was really F2. There was some commenting on a vanilla TV post over the period of LAN, and I suppose I should preface that by saying that in Europe there's been a real movement towards using the NA rule set for the last few months, since the end of the season. It had been or even since before the start of last season, the ETF2L admins had been quite keen on it, but we didn't implement it because but the website wasn't really up to handle it, and we didn't have time, and it just seemed like it'd been a done deal. It's going to happen in season 16 because we have some new web developers working on it. But then I read this post from F2 where he was basically like, look at the amazing games we're having at LAN. Are we sure we really want to do this? And so there's just there's a whole discussion there about, is it best to play with the clock? And I'm not really trying to pick a winner here between the EU and the NA rule set. I'm not trying to say one's better than the other. I just want to go through them, point out the advantages, the pros and the cons, and see if we can come up with something that just works, man, or take all the best bits and none of the bad bits.
Yeah, it's. I think I was thinking about this earlier because obviously I was preparing for the show, and I was thinking, like, ETF2 hasn't announced rules, have they? Like, they announced the season, they announced that it started, but they haven't announced maps and rules. And I was thinking, you know what, they're probably waiting for us. I think that's what's happening. I think ETF12 is going to be looking at the show. It's going to be like, okay, we need to figure out something that is like in check with pretty much everything. What do we want to start with? Like a Marvel, do you have like an idea clear where you want to start? Like I think maybe a good entry way is the whole sort of, you know, two halves system that's been going on in. I think Australia's been having this since the start as well, right, yUKi? I'm really bad at this, but. You guys have been having this, right?
We used to do something very similar to the EU rule set about 3 or 4 seasons ago, and then like I was nagging the admin since like the second season. I'm like, please use the NA rule set. It's better because this and this, and I just post the same thing on the forum every time, and they're finally like, oh, yUKi, you've won like 5 titles now, so sure, we'll listen to you now. It's like, but anyway, continue, please.
So yeah, it's. I think the NA versus, like, people are saying NA versus EU rule set mainly because the Europeans have been using 30-minute time limit every single map since the dawn of time, basically, and the North Americans have been using the two-half system since the dawn of time. So I guess that's just the way it's been developing as an NA versus EU rule set. I think F2 pretty much hit the nail on the head. He said something like, look at how cool these games are. This comeback wouldn't have happened if there was a two. Might be true. I'm not really sure where I stand personally just yet. Amara, what's your take on all of this?
Well, maybe one way to go about it is just to speak purely from my perspective as an EU player. The reason we really started to get behind the NA rule sets is just because it sort of highlighted a lot of the things that we thought were problematic or that we preferred about their system. Like halftime seemed like a good idea because it really gave teams a chance to sort of just chill out and start talking about any problems you have after you've already lost 3 rounds. Because I guess we'd seen a lot of Epsilon quick 5-0 10-minute games, and we'd like to think that maybe if we had a few minutes in between there or some opportunity just to get everybody to calm down, think about what they're doing wrong, how to approach the next middle, that could increase the quality of games, and only really at the cost of 5 minutes. But I've never really been that bothered about the fact that, you know, you would switch sides around. That's fine, I don't care. But I always thought that halftime was a great idea. And as well, I suppose there's been some famous moments of parking the bus in EU TF2, so the longer time limit is a good idea in that you get to play more TF2, you're not really rushed. But then that's where we're here to talk about it. The flip side is that having a time limit forces plays to be made. You can't just sit back and fire off your tag bombs every 5 minutes and see if you get lucky. But I'd like to hear what kaidus has to say. You know, he's someone who's played in EU and NA.
I don't know. I used to be like really in favor of the American rule set, but now I just kind of feel like I don't mind too much. Like I think both rule sets. I don't know. You can look at whatever examples you want of either rule set, and it seems like both rule sets, depending on the teams playing and the importance of the game, both rule sets can turn up like really slow games. Like you either have the HRG style that caters like with this like the hour time limit, and then you can slow the game down from the get-go and just play a really slow game. And then you have in EU rules, if a team's winning, they can slow it down at the end. Like I don't agree with like F2 saying that this LAN means our rule set is better, because if you look at every other LAN over the history of TF2, I think that like if you compare them, like the old I-Series with the ESCA LANs, apart from like a couple of I-Series finals, the ESCA LANs win kind of hands down. I don't really know how much of that's to do with the rule set, but I definitely don't think our rule set is like better at all. I think there's just one team that kind of took advantage of the American rule set recently, and I kind of put it into a negative light. But in general, like I agree with you about the halves. Like I think halves are really good. Like I've seen so many games where I think a halftime could have really turned it around, because you see teams nowadays doing like a lot of tactical pauses and stuff, and like like I've done it before. Like I did it even against Ips. I think we did it once, and it's just like I don't see anything wrong with it really. I don't see why you shouldn't be able to take a couple of minutes to discuss stuff like that, because in a game of TF2, like it's so much about like discussion and stuff with your team, and there's no real opportunity to do it in the EU rule set. And so I don't see why teams should have to be like underhanded and sneaky to do it, if you know what I mean.
So just to clarify, you're talking about the most recent ESE LAN where the quick fix was used in these incredibly long games?
Yeah. Like I don't put that all down to the quick fix though. Like if you watch the old HRG games, even without the quick fix, they're still pretty boring compared to like old NATF2 anyway. Like I don't know, it's like the rule set does allow that, but it's like, I don't know. I guess the point I'm making is both rule sets allow you to slow the game down if the team wants to. If the team in control of the game wants to slow it down, there's certain points in each rule set where it makes sense to do so. So I don't really think that's a good focal point for the discussion, if you know what I mean. Because as far as I'm concerned, you can slow it down in both games. Like I like half time, so that's kind of why I err towards the NA rules. And also I like the fact that with an hour time limit, it means in like a league match, you can play just one map, and that means you can practice like one map for the whole week. And I think kind of in a season structure, that's what you should be doing. Like the ETF2 seasons always felt really dodgy to me, because it's like it's supposed to be like week by week. Like it's a season, not a cup. You don't have to be prepared for all maps all the time. But like if you play like a season of ETF2, and say like someone uses a wild card, it can be like you have to practice 4 maps in a week to be ready for 2 matches in the space of 2 days. But in ESEA, you don't really have that same situation. That's what I mainly like about their rules.
Yeah, go ahead, James.
Just, I suppose the real point we're getting at behind that, or something that leads off that anyway, as I was saying about how North American rule set had just highlighted problems we felt in our own. The sort of idea of dead time, that there seems to be a lot more situations in EU games where a team has a lead, not even necessarily a significant lead, but they can play to the clock, and that's at the point where you feel, wow, 30 minutes is really holding us back. Like just sort of anecdotally looking back at the games we saw at LAN, a lot of the Epsilon games were actually really close, you know, like just 1 or 2 point games, and whenever teams realised they were like behind with 10 minutes to go, then they start doing pushes they might normally do, but that's not necessarily good TF2, is it? They're just pushing because they know they have to. They're not executing the strategy they've practiced. They're just going in and panicking, really. Is that more entertaining? But maybe for the fans, but for the teams that put in all these hours to play, it's just like slightly heartbreaking. Am I off the mark?
I know what you're saying. I don't know, because HRG, they're just kind of throwing a spanner in it for me, because like it always used to be that the NA rules just seem superior to me, but now like you see like how they can be exploited if a team chooses. It becomes for me more about the teams playing rather than the actual rules themselves. But like I don't know, HRG are kind of one of a kind in that respect. There's never been really a dominant team like them that's wanted to play so slow, and probably I don't know. I like to think there won't ever be again, or at least like I would like to act like the actions we take. I would like to have that in mind, that teams in general like to play aggressive. Which is kind of like why I agree with you, like the NA rules probably like allowing more time takes the clock out of the equation. Like I prefer that, but I don't know. Like I said, like another team could just crop up like HRG and dominate things by playing slowly, and then you're back to like thinking EU rules are better again.
yUKi, what are your feelings on this? Having just been to LAN and had to play against that clock, tell me your experiences.
Well, you all were watching the LAN. You saw how certain bought a game against a certain High Rollers Gaming and a certain Park the Bus at like 1-0 in the last. How much pressure it puts on the other team, and just how much pressure it relieves off the team that's the point ahead. Like as soon as we got to last, we had double NG, heavy, and sniper already, just like building that sentry up. Sheep was sniper. How are you going to get through that? And just obviously demo man traps and snake water last just being stupidly large. Like it's just pretty silly. And as you guys have said earlier, you guys have pretty much taken almost of what I was gonna say, in that like, with the NA rule set allows you like halves, and that gives you time to like, talk about what happened previously, what you guys did good, what you did bad, what you can improve on, what the other team did, etc., etc. And that's where I think like is one of the main things where the NA rule set is really strong. And as Kata said earlier, it's just like the map cycle each week as well is really good because I think we have the same thing as you guys, as Kata was saying, like, a bunch of maps possibly every week. Like, what is it, like pick ban or something like that? Because for our league, it's like a map pool of 5, you ban 2, pick 1 each, and then the last map is the final. So it's like a best of 3 every week. So it's like
Wow.
the problem with that is like you get a lot of the teams sometimes picking and eliminating different maps, and you have like these, like, you want to scrim and practice, but like this team may be like, oh, we picked this map in our league match. It's like, but we picked this map in our league match, and like don't have time to practice every map because teams can only play for a certain amount of time, and it just makes scrims really shitty. Whereas having the same map or like one map a week just allows for scrimming teams to be able to actually play the map they need to practice.
Like
So,
it makes it
yeah.
like it makes it better to watch as well, like as a spectator, like because I played a couple seasons of ESCA like a couple years ago, but lately I've just watched it, and I don't know. It might be just because there's the LAN or the hype and that shit, but it always kind of felt like to me it was more fun to watch because if I see like say HIG play mix up on Badlands or whatever, it's like I've seen those two teams play that map, and then like later that week they're gonna go ahead and play that map again, and I can kind of see what they learned from that match earlier in the week, and how they've changed, and how like all the teams actually like match up against each other on this one map. Whereas in EU, it just seems like all over the place. Like you're just tuning in to like something random every time. It doesn't really equate to like one long event rather than just several isolated matches that don't really link together very well.
Well, that's the same thing in Australia. It's like week 1 of so and so league. It's just like team 1 versus team 2 on these maps, and then you're like, oh, I want to watch another game with different teams instead, and it's just like these 2 different maps, and it's like, what? Isn't it supposed to be like the same map in the same week? So people start getting confused. So like, shouldn't we be watching Badlands and Granary instead of Snakewater and Gully Wash? It just makes things pretty confusing. So
I can say with absolute certainty that the cast that I did for ESCA 3 weeks ago, I think, like 2.5 weeks ago, like during the night, it was 4 a.m. and everything. It was one of the most exciting moments of casting Team Fortress 2 that I've ever done. Now, of course, I didn't have the 0-0 halftime game between Mixup and HRG. I didn't have that one because my internet crashed. But apart from that, I casted all the games, and the entire system, it felt like it made sense to me. It felt a lot more interesting. It felt a lot more exciting. Kind of what Kaidus was saying. Like, whenever I watch the games, it just feels a lot more like tense. Like, it makes perfect sense. And I think in that regard it was good, but then suddenly after I-49 that discussion point came up from F2 is like, hey, these are some of the most exciting games of Team Fortress 2 we've ever seen. What are we supposed to do? Apart from that, and I'll that here for just a little bit, I want to say to the chat, guys, we want a lot of chat interaction with this one. I think Marble very clearly said to me as well, like, make sure people know that. I don't think we have polls and stuff like that, like we were supposed to have it. I don't think we do. Because
Skyride was going to
Skyride disappeared. He kind of just took off, and I completely forgot about it. But we were supposed to have that. But basically, how it is, guys, if we say something and we want to go a little bit of crowdsourcing, like, hey, what do you guys feel about it, or something like that, please, just let us know in chat what your opinion is, because this is not going to be some sort of discussion where we're going to be sitting here like, well, we know what we're talking about. Like, everyone knows what they're talking about. And don't just scream for your region. Like, if you're American, don't be saying that the North American rule set is obviously the best. No, it's just tell us what you think, right? And spamming things is obviously never going to help. So, with regards to that, right now, if you'd have to make a call, yUKi, Admirable, Kaidus, all 3, if ETF2 or ESCA come up to you right now and say, what rule set would you want? The 2 halves rule set with 1 map every single week, 2 games, but 1 map per game, or the way ETF12 is doing it, right? With 2 maps, 30 minutes, just the way it has always been here in Europe. What do you want? What would your answer be?
I'd just go for the NA rule set. Like I said before, I won't say it all again, but the way it influences the actual games, it can be the same in both rule sets in different situations. So I just kind of use the one map a week thing as like a tiebreaker, I guess. And so I'd go for the ESA style of doing it.
Yeah, I'd agree. The NA rule set pretty much just like it's not really a question about which one's like objectively better. I mean, if you want to like look at specifics, the NA rule set probably just slightly edges it out, probably with like the halves and the maps thing. But it's just we need some sort of conclusion just to have universal rule sets so it can actually be a proper competitive game. Because you look at other games, they all have the same rule set in every region. They don't have slight changes everywhere. So it's like it's not confusing to a spectator. It's like they don't have to think, oh, I'm watching an Australian TF2 game. I need to know that they've got this instead of this and this. So yeah.
If we had like a crap ton of lands, like proper lands in TF2, I might feel different because, like if you imagine like I-Series are functioning under the NA rules, like every group game is going to take an hour, all that kind of stuff. You wouldn't have the time, or you'd have to like drop out some games and have less games. So if we had a load of lands, I might feel different. But as long as like the season structure is the dominating competition in TF2, at least online, it seems like you have to do what's best for like the season play. And I think the ESA really have it done pretty well.
Yeah,
go ahead, Mario.
I sort of agree, but I suppose I'll play devil's advocate a little bit. Like mostly what we've been talking about is just from the player's perspective, but going back to what you were saying about how you thought the games you cast at Pledge at ESA LAN were the most exciting, like do people in the chat, do you prefer to see 2 maps in a fixture? Do you like the fact that it only takes 30 minutes a map, or do you mind that the schedule can be very erratic when you come to these NA games? And kaidus has just said as well, something that is a real down point for if you imagine playing NA rules at the multiplayer event where there's so many rounds, like that sort of random factor, the difference in how long a game can be from 10 minutes to 60 minutes is just like really hard to manage. But I just wonder, is that important at all, or do you really think we should just go for whatever produces the best games?
I'm a little bit torn. I'm a little bit torn personally. But my opinion on the entire thing is pretty much what you actually said earlier, is that you like the idea of having like some sort of a team break in between halves. I think that is one of the most important things. Like people like Ips don't have to fake mouse lag anymore. Like it's kind of just been happening. Everyone does it. Like I'm not calling it. Like I'm not specifically calling it this. Everyone has done. I've done it in the past. Like guys, sorry, my roommate just walked in and threw my keyboard out the window. Sorry, I can't play. Everyone comes up with random things, and that's the way it is. I think it is very difficult to say what's the correct choice. What I can say is that I genuinely doubt that North America is going to go for the European rule set. So if the universal rule set is ever going to happen, it's going to have to be the European switching. And I think that's kind of just the way it is. That's not saying like that the Americans, they hate change. No, it's not like, I'm just saying they've been playing like that forever, and we're now the guys who have decided, you know what, maybe it's a good idea to switch on over. And the Nations Cup have been using it. Obviously, kaidus, you've been playing around with it. Admirable, you've been playing in the Nations Cup. Has it just been nice? Has it just been a good thing to have in general, or have you not really noticed it anything? Because obviously it's been group stages and like first round of playoffs.
Yeah, well, I think it has been good. Whenever you're the person playing in the game, I've never really been bored having had to play a 60-minute game. It's quite intense, but I'm just wondering, that's why I asked, from a fan's perspective, from a spectator's perspective, what do you feel about it? And I saw a comment here, let me see if I can read it out. Hengast says, the thing is, the NA rule set is nice with halves to take a break, give the team being rolled time to actually put their minds to the cause and work something new. I don't think the rule set in game is, wow, I'm so hungover, one better than the other. Damn it, that's not the comment I was looking for. Here's the one. 2 maps. 2 maps makes a match far more interesting. The way I see EU rules is that map changes is the halftime. The map changes the halftime. It's not fair because obviously maps are different, and having the full hour of games with such potential variety is better for me. Who agrees with that? Do you
got
prefer
it
having
out.
two
You
maps?
got it out. It's okay. You got it out.
I kind of got
No,
lost in your in the time it took you to spit it out. Kind of, can you summarize or something?
Cliff notes.
Too long, didn't read. He prefers two maps because it gives variety, and he thinks that half-time, or the point where you change maps, is the equivalent of half-time
Okay,
in EU.
I was actually dwelling on a point related to this a minute ago. Do you not agree that like in the EU rule set at the moment, say you lose the first map, effectively you're at half time, but the best you can then do for the rest of the match is tie. Like, I don't really think that's very good for as a player or as a spectator. Say you're rooting for Broder or someone and they lost the first map to Epsi in a season game. Like, the best they can do is tie for the next half an hour.
Yeah.
If they play out their skin and win the next map, then great, but at the end of the day, it's still a tie. Like, one team's already secured at least a tie halfway through the game. I don't know. It doesn't really seem very good to me.
What about we do the half system, but we do it lower time limit, like 15, 20, 25 minutes instead of just having those 30 to an hour long matches, so that we can still get some sort of a reasonable time down. Would that be an idea to have like 20-minute halves? Like, obviously that would just be completely thinking outside the box here, but would that hypothetically be a thing?
Yeah, I think like if you look at the NA rule set, it's sort of illogical. You have half-time after 3 rounds, but the cap limit is 5, so you're already more than halfway beat by the time you actually get a break. I'm not sure about the time limit. I think, yeah, maybe we could have some sort of compromise between 60 and 30. But like, it just seems to me, maybe someone from the American scene, you guys didn't always play that way. You only started playing that way when ESEA came in. And are they not basically like just crowbarring in the Counter-Strike rules because that's their client? There's a half time and everybody types ready, it readies 3 times. Is that all that shit not just like a hangover from CS?
Is that such a bad thing, though? That is my question. Because CS has been a successful esport since forever. Is that such a bad thing? I like the idea of no randomness at all. So even though red and blue are technically the same in TF2, there are still slight differences that can provide game changing at any level. So that's
I found out yesterday that Vic is colorblind. Apparently, he could only play on one team. I never knew this the whole time playing with him, but apparently he really struggled. So maybe we would have won LAN if there was halves.
This information that you're throwing out now, like, obviously he quit, but when he's playing Highland, he's been playing Highland all this time, so that's why he's only good at red, probably. That explains everything. There's been a vote, by the way, guys. Before we hop on over, 62% of the voters say that the NA rule set is a better idea than the EU rule set. I advise you guys to vote. I put the link in chat multiple times. I'll put it there once more. Just to be 100% certain if everyone can vote for that. Like, obviously just have an idea. I think Mr. Potato was the one who made this poll. Like, we can just make polls like this throughout the evening. Which is always going to be a good thing. And there's like multiple votes coming in for NA once again. Right now, if we like just sort of rounding this one up with the 2 halves and everything. If we go to ETF 12 right now and be like, well, we got this panel of players who know what they're talking about. Without Americans, but that doesn't matter because they hold on to their rule set. Why would you guys just do this and kind of just unite things? Would that just be a thing? Like, just have the 2 halves of 30 minutes, and if it's terrible, if it's a bad idea, make it 2 halves 20 minutes for the next season or something like that, but just kind of switch right now? Would anyone mind that, really, in Europe?
People are just going to go
I
with
don't
it.
know.
Because it's like, we want ESEA. That's like the big carrot on the stick for us. We're just going to go with whatever they say. And then I guess ETF2L admins are faced with a decision. Do they just make it the same? But then you're asking yourself, are you throwing out the baby with the bathwater? Which is sort of why we're here, to see if there is anything worth salvaging from either rule set, or is one just absolutely superior? What do you say, kaidus?
Like I said, in like standard league format, the ESEA rules are so much better. But I do worry about, like, when I watch ESEA, IM and Open playoffs, they feel completely underwhelming to me. Like, when I watch like their semi-final and it's one map, and then I watch the final and it's like, it's that weird double elimination style final where one team wins one map, they win, the other team wins 2 maps, they win. But either way, it can be over. Like, you remember the I-Series finals when it used to only be one map, potentially, before they threw away the upper bracket advantage? It makes for such crappy finals. And considering like we have no LAN here and all our finals are played online, they would have to use this kind of format. Like, I'm not really sure if you could. Actually, that's a fair point. Actually, that I've somehow stumbled upon. I don't like at the moment these best of threes in the Nations Cup. We played our first bracket game the other day in the Nations Cup. It was against like a Dutch B team, so it wasn't really that long or drawn out. But if we played like a real opponent and we had to play best of three with a potential hour time limit, and we had to do that every week for like 4 weeks, it's a bit ridiculous. Like potentially like 3 hours of TF2 plus breaks plus a warm up.
Is there like a week time limit on those games? Like, do the ETF12 admins like enforce like a week per game? Is that the way it works? Usually it's 2.
I'm not sure. Maybe it's 2 weeks, but for the sake of say playoffs, Prem playoffs, say you're on team number 4 and say you go on a huge streak and you take it all the way to the grand final. That's 4 weeks in a row. You have to play a best of 3, potentially 3 hours. Like, I don't know. It just seems like it's not very good for playoffs, but for like a league format, it's really good. So that's kind of why. That's like the one thing I have where I think maybe EU rules has something going for it there, but I don't know.
Yeah, Nullflow's calling us out here in the chat saying that this whole show is a joke, that we're basically just spouting opinions without any real facts, but you know, that's entirely my fault for going to a festival instead of doing any research here.
What kind of facts would you want, really? Let's be honest.
Actually,
yeah.
Well, I was going to ask a minute ago, is there anywhere where you can see like a list of results from iSeries? Because I'm really wondering like how many of them went over 5 rounds and things like that. I don't know if CompTF has like a list anywhere or anything like that.
I'm sure you can.
Should do.
I've mentally blocked it out, so it's just kind of for me. It's not a thing, but I'm sure there's going to be someone. There were some great analysis articles on Vanilla TF2. I'm sure if we ask those people, like, hey, take a look at this for us, I'm sure they'll do it.
Because something I was thinking.
yUKi, go ahead.
Alright. What Vasky Mile said is exactly what I was going to say, but I completely forgot about it. I'll just read their comment. My personal opinion is that halftime for the spectators, what it does is that it allows the casters to give a perspective on what is happening, what people can look forward to on the next half, as well as what should be changed or not. Not to talk about the stats up to the end of that half, who's doing well. It kind of works a little bit like football or even basketball, makes it a lot closer to a real sport. I mean, because like you think about it, like a lot of sports, well, pretty much every sport has like some form of halftime, if I'm not mistaken, right? So, you know, the team can get together and just talk about their flaws, the other team's flaws, their strengths, weaknesses, what they can do to adjust, adapt, etc. I mean, it's not like talking about the second map should be the half, separating it. It's just like you have a football game going on at halftime. It's like, okay, guys, let's just go play basketball now, because, you know, it's just pretty much what you're doing, changing the map. You're just practically changing the game. So it's like, yeah, it's a really good point by Vasky Maya, however I pronounce your name, I'm sorry.
Makes perfect sense. Yeah, he knows who he is, or she.
Yeah.
Honestly, we don't know, but again, 62% for the NA rule set at the moment. Is the discussion really just going to be like? I had this discussion earlier. I can't remember with who it was, but earlier this week, I got the question: is the ESEA rule set in Europe going to be the exact same as the ESEA rule set in North America? And I honestly didn't know the answer to that. Because it makes sense for them to do the same thing. Like, Killing is still the head of that, but Sonny Black has stepped up. He's the ESEA admin. Is the rules going to be the same? Because that automatically unifies us. Like, automatically, right there. If they do the same maps as well, the ESEA map pool just got announced for North America. If we're going to have the exact same thing, we're going to have to start playing some Cold Plant in PCWs. That's the way it is. Is that going to happen? Like, I can't... Let's see if I can find Sonny Black on my friends list, see how that's going on. Would that not be, like, the solution? To just kind of have ESEA just group them both together, even though they're different leagues?
The impression I got when I didn't really talk to Sonny Black, but what I heard basically, his impression I got is, it's basically his call, and he's torn between, going for, like, the ESEA rule set, like, and doing all of that, but then also, like, because it's ESEA's first season, he has to kind of worry about, like, alienating people and making them not want to sign up, like, because it's quite a big jump already having a pay-to-play league. I'm not sure how he feels about saying, okay, here's a pay-to-play league, and you have to play with completely new rule sets and maps and stuff you might not like, so I'm not sure if he wants to ease people into it or something like that.
I was just typing to him and he went offline as I typed my sentence, so I don't think we're going to have an answer. I think that's for sure. Oh, it's rigged, guys, it's rigged, that's for sure. But no, we don't know. I think that's the main answer. I think kaidus should make a perfectly valid point, like, if you're going to throw in North American maps, unlocks, map system, everything like that, and suddenly it's like, well, we can pay for this all we want, but it's a little bit weird to suddenly do so. That's the way it is. Unlocked. I think it's a good moment to switch our way over right now from the North American sort of half system, the European 30-minute system, and switching over towards unlocks. This has always been a little bit of a weird debate. We can throw it in there, talk about it a little bit. I doubt we're going to have like a standard opinion. What I noticed from casting ESEA is that unlocks are very rarely being used. Quick Fix got banned in ESEA, which I think everyone was very happy about, apart from the top players who sort of made it a little bit relative. Okay, yUKi apparently is the exception to the rule, but I think everyone, like the top players, said very clearly it wasn't the fault of the Quick Fix that the LAN had some sort of stalematy moment. The Quick Fix got thrown out. We're going back to a system where the North Americans have a lot of unlocks, and I think the best way to describe this is that the North Americans ban everything that's broken, and the Europeans ban everything until it's an asset to the game. Is that a good way of describing the difference between the two? Yes, no, anything? Do I need to say it again?
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, yUKi, you first.
Yeah, well, I don't know. There's just, I guess the thing is that people right now, when they think of TF2, they think of the game right now. And if you add any more unlocks to it, it just makes it stupid or weird. It's really hard to try and introduce new unlocks into the game. Like, you think about it. What was the last not stupid, silly, overpowered unlock that was like introduced into, say, like the NA rule set, for example? I'm thinking
Boston Basher.
Oh god,
Yeah.
Boston Basher, exactly. Like, that was a really smart item by Valve, actually. I don't know if they did.
Did he crash?
See ya.
Later. I think that's yeah, but that's the way it is. I'll repeat my point
some way.
because there you go. Wait, is he back?
He's back. He's on Mumble.
What?
He's on Mumble.
I think he dropped from Skype. You might need to
lovely.
rejoin the call.
That's fine. He's here now. But whilst he rejoins, let me once again just reiterate. Is everything okay, by the way? Because my Skype is going mad.
Mine's gone bonkers.
I can see the webcams and stuff like that. So I don't know exactly, but I'll make my point. The way I described it, the North American and EU unlock rule set, is that the North Americans allow everything until it's broken, and the Europeans ban everything until it proves to be an asset to the game. I think that's sort of been the mindset since the start in both continents. I think yUKi, you guys there over in Australia, you guys have been having the exact same rule set as the North Americans mainly, right? Or do you have different bans on unlocks as well?
Pretty much. I think the only difference we have is like the gunslinger. No, it's something. It's like the Jag or something. One of them is a rattle band.
It says enough.
I don't know. It's something silly like that. It's insignificant though, and like that's the thing. No, God no. But yeah, it's just the main thing is, like, as I was saying, when people think of TF2, they think of the game it is now. If you add anything in which can change it dramatically, like the Quick Fix, for example, then the game just starts to change completely. And I don't know, I mean, it's like people try and say it makes it interesting, and it's like, well, it's not like they add unlocks to...
Wait,
sorry, my brother came into my room and just distracted me entirely. But
it's truth, mate.
Damn it! All this serious podcast business is distracting yUKi here from his super valuable point.
Yeah, no. I completely lost my train of thought.
It's okay.
It's not like you see like a football chucked into a soccer game, for example. It's a really bad analogy, but you see my point. It's like it's something that completely changes the game, stuff like that. Whereas TF2, like the direct hit, is just a stupid unlock. Is that allowed in NA though? That's a stupid unlock. But I mean, more things like the Quick Fix. Like the game so often is about like Uber fights that occur, and you just change the Quick Fix, that changes the whole Uber fight dynamic entirely. It's just ridiculous.
Quick Fix literally changed everything. It was so horrible
exactly.
to watch.
It was pretty disgusting, and
Like
it
you
just
hated
made
it, like with a passion, right?
I
saw
despised
you
it.
in chat multiple times, and he was just like, "I hate this weapon. Please
so
make it go
horrible.
away."
It was like I couldn't like watch and analyze a game anymore. It's like you could say that I'm just scared of change and I want to analyze the old game, but it's like I don't know. Everyone's here because they like TF2, and if you just suddenly change everything about it, I don't know. I think people were just a bit scared to be called like scared of change or whatever. Like when you have to use it for a mid fight, and then like it literally affects every aspect of the game was different. Like
I
yUKi
mean,
says.
yeah, I mean, granted, there's games like, I don't know, StarCraft and such, for example, that have expansions. It's like, ooh, new units, but it's just like, well, yeah, that's pretty much it. It's because it's an expansion, not like some DLC pack or unlock that's been released for TF2. Like, I mean, I guess if they were to release like mini expansions or something like that for TF2, and it's just like they were not upgrades or anything, but they were rather like side grades, alternatives. Whereas like the quick fix was just a blatant upgrade towards like the normal metagun / Ubercharged dynamic. So I don't know, maybe it's the onus on Valve, but like we know, what's the last thing that Valve have done good for the game? Boston Basher, pretty much it. Oh, and the Badlands changes, but like one or two of them were good. Like they broke the map for a week. That was pretty funny.
The quick fix was a good change, man. Like it really did make it viable, but it just happened to make it too viable
Yeah.
and
Broke the game.
break the
Too
meta.
Broke the game. It was a little bit weird. Like I gotta be honest though, ESEA, the first few games that I casted, like the first stages, the brackets were very confusing. I knew it was gonna happen. I didn't know it was gonna be this way though. But at the end, I thought the grand final was pretty damn brilliant. I quite enjoyed it. I think the games were really nice, and the quick fix actually, because the teams just spend an entire weekend talking about it and trying to figure it out. They actually got to a point where you got this weird like 3 medigun meta, where people would actually go back to spawn and switch and try the opponent off. It was the weirdest thing I've ever seen, but it actually intrigued me quite a bit. And I think that's why a lot of people, like the head of North America, I think Enigma made a brilliant post about it, and he pretty much hit the nail on the head. He said Gully Watch was a terrible map. I didn't really agree with that one, but he very much so said the quick fix wasn't the fault of the entire LAN. It wasn't the fault of the quick fix that it broke everything. But on the other side, I can see kaidus' point. It just kind of ruined everything.
I did like
in that sense.
I do agree. Like I did really like in the final and stuff in the odd game where it didn't just rape the game. I did actually quite enjoy like the whole 3 metagun thing. I read quite an interesting suggestion actually. Someone wrote, so I can't remember who it was, on some forum, where he said, "What if the quick fix only gave you like the extra movement, like for the medic when you use the charge? So like you pop and then you can jump your medic in, but then like you can't jump him out or whatever if it fades." I don't know, I kind of liked it because like I do like the way the quick fix can be used in the game when it's used here and there, but the fact that it just had to be used so often, it completely dominated the game and changed everything. Like if you did make that change, then quick fix becomes much less viable on mid fights. Like you could actually use Uber because you like the quick fix doesn't get you there 10 seconds earlier and things like that. So like I didn't hate the quick fix completely. I just hated what it did to the game when it was forced to be used all the time. Like, the actual weapon, like I think it has something to add, but just like it needs to be like a crits. It doesn't need to be like a new metagun. If you know what I mean.
Like obviously right now in North America it's banned. Right now, if ETF2, if ESEA right now here in Europe says, okay, you know what, screw it, we're going to adapt the North American half system. Say hypothetically, right now we also adopt the North American unlock system, or the Australian, it's virtually the same. Would there be any unlock here in Europe, or any unlock that is in that rule set that would just break European gameplay altogether?
The loose
direct
cannon.
hit or something, like a direct hit or a loose cannon or something weird. Would there be anything that completely tears it apart? Hypothetically, obviously.
Well, I think the way the ESEA system works is that in the pre-season, everybody is entitled to a vote, or at least every team. Someone can correct me, but like if you look at the actual list of NA unlocks that are banned in ESEA, it's not really like a well thought out list. Like, for example, the buff banner is allowed, but the Poseidon's backup is banned, or the Conqueror or whatever. It's like they allow some of the items that have team buffs,
Did
and
you
then
see
they
the
don't have
Conqueror
others.
getting used in ESEA? Marvel, did you see
I wasn't
it?
there that weekend. I was in France.
Yeah. Kennis, did you see like the Conqueror being used to actually push Gollywash last?
Yeah, I was so confused because I didn't even know what the weapon does, and everyone's like the conch, the conch. I was like, what's going
was-
on?
Still, man.
It was the weirdest thing. Platinum used it. It became a thing as well, where just a lot of people in chat were like, the Conqueror! Like, and people just went completely insane. And it was this, it created the weirdest thing. Apparently Enigma called it. That's what he said, but obviously that's what everyone says when something works out. It went pretty insane, but it was, I don't know. Like, I would agree with you, Ads, that there's some weird things being banned and some weird things being allowed. I think like the Europeans, like the admins in general, would have to take a little bit of a look at that. Like, hey, can we maybe modify this list slightly?
Yeah, but then I'll be the devil's advocate, man. I'll say, like, is anybody really qualified to decide what unlocks are good or bad? Just use them all, man. I believe
That's not the
Valve
point.
can balance them.
Admins have the power. They always have the power. That's the way it works. That's why they're admins.
No whitelist for season
Termzilla's
16.
gonna rule the world, man. That's the way it is.
I'd use the Highlander whitelist, man. It's fine. Use that in sixes. Great game.
Gunslinger and Wrangler, gross.
We're gonna use
Jesus
Wranglers all day. Oh
Christ.
Christ!
Don't
No one's
get
gonna
me
be able to push
double
Granary last
NG
anymore.
Wrangler,
It's just...
double NG Snake Water last, double NG Wrangler. Don't, no, please.
I can only. Oh, this is what I'm seeing. I'm seeing Granary last with a Wrangled Sentry on top of the big pipe, like on top of the high pipe, with a Wrangled Sentry right up there. That would be great. I can't wait to cast that, and then that's when the half sister comes into play, right? That's when we're gonna have to wait for an hour for a cap to happen. I think.
Never,
that's a
ever.
Conspiracy. Never. You probably
Jeez.
quit the game straight as that happens.
Well,
That'd be
Valve
great.
have said that they want to balance out the unlocks in terms of which ones are underused.
My
You know?
ass.
Don't you trust Valve, man? Robin Walker's got our back. Thanks, Rob.
Okay, let's.
I think yUKi said it perfectly. When was the last time Valve was anything done? Like, let's be honest, they made an absolutely
Basher.
brilliant game, but they don't really patch it that well for us. That's just the way it is, guys. Sorry.
Hey, they did something good like, what was it, like 4.5 years ago. That was the crit Siva, yeah, good job Valve. And the random damage Siva, good job Valve. And the shotgun spread Siva, yeah, those are like the 3 best things that Valve have ever done.
Don't forget the
That's
custom crosshairs.
Oh yeah, that was pretty cool. About it. Sorry, Valve.
And
You're
they had a
alright.
good patch a couple of months ago, guys. They had a good patch a couple of months ago. So that's
Dota's
a good.
doing good.
It's a good patch every 4 years. So in about 3 years or something, we should be getting a balanced patch coming out for the quick fix. It should be all right.
And Demoman will get nerfed.
Yeah, don't know. We'll finally get nerfed. But let's be honest, they can't one-shot scouts anymore with pipes. So
Oh yeah. Yeah, I guess I was joking to Kaidus earlier, if they nerf Demoman, Scout will just become even stronger, so it's kind of hard to
no.
balance them, even though they're overpowered. Oh, what can you do? Demoman, too strong.
What can you do? That's the way it is. See people in chat asking for a link to the Conqueror match. It's the upper bracket grand final, or the upper bracket final is what it's called. Just head to teamfortress.tv YouTube. It's youtube.com/teamfortress.tv. You can find the upper bracket final between Classic Mix Up and HOG on Gollywash. That's it. Alright. Unlocks, once again, right now, if the ETF2 admins would say, you know what, we're going to take all the North American unlocks, and we're just going to play with that. Would that be such a bad idea?
Fine.
It would be
I'm not
absolutely
playing
horrible
this
for like a
season.
month.
That's fine.
For like a month, while everyone has their like jollies with the huntsman and the direct hit, it would be absolutely horrible. But after that, it would be fine. There would be like a proper teething period.
Huntsman's still allowed.
So what if right now they would say, we're going to throw it in the season. You have 3 weeks to prepare. Good luck. Would it then... Would it balance out before that time, or is there specifically league play needed for that?
Well, no, like I think it would be fine. It's just that everyone would like just goof around for ages because like the Yanks, they had them brought in like over time, so they got used to having them around. And they just kind of got like it's only every now and then you see people start messing around. It's kind of like now when you see bad teams playing a good team and they start losing. Like every now and then they'll crack out the double pyro strat or something like that. You just kind of see the same thing except with like huntsman snipers and all that sort of thing. But you'd see it in abundance because like, I don't know, people get new stuff. It's like new toys and they have to play with them and things like that. But I don't know, it'll be fine after a while. It'll just be really horrible while people had their fun.
Is the huntsman, because obviously we touched that just a little bit. Is it actually a thing? Is it like in the unlocks or is it banned? I'm actually not sure.
I'm pretty sure it's allowed.
It's allowed.
I think it's still allowed, yeah.
Jesus Christ. The chaos. Like, people would just... Seriously, jukeboxes come back for the game just to play around with that thing. That's the way it is.
Well, like, we can sort of extend that argument a little bit to cover anything and any unlocks. Like, eventually, if you just allow an unlock, eventually the game will change slightly based on that. But a new way of playing will come around. Is that a bad thing? Should we try and preserve TF2 forever? Like, in Europe we did that for years and years and didn't allow any new unlocks, but no one's complaining now that we've got the gunboats and the shit stick and the Boston Basher.
You know, I think it's fine to try stuff. Like, I'd say it's kind of good that the Americans tried the quick fix, because now they're like, you know, they tried it and now they can solidly say, okay, this wasn't really that good. I think it's horrible the way they did it, and like, because it just came out just before LAN, it kind of ruined the LAN a bit. But I think it's good to try stuff, and if you like the change, then keep it, and if you don't, then get rid of it. But you just have to pick the right moments to try it out. Like, don't pick really significant moments in the season to test this stuff. Test it like off season.
If we allow those unlocks, should we limit Pyro and Engineer to 1?
I think double NG is pretty silly, in my opinion. I'm not sure about double Pyro, I don't really care about that much, but double NG is silly because, like, the idea of setting up a sentry, it's kind of usually try and do like the trade-off between a sentry and a heavy, because all of the time, if you have the time to set it up, a level 3 sentry is better than a heavy. Like, not all the time, don't get me wrong, but like in a general consensus. But, you know, if you don't have time, you're like, oh crap, we need something big to defend last point with, then you get the heavy because you don't have time to do a level 3. But double NG just allows you to get that level 3 in like 10 seconds. And it's like, well, shit, I swear I only just heard them building a sentry a second ago. So
It has its risk though, because if you get your, like, if they come in while you have your 2 NG smashing at this SG, you kind of caught with your pants down.
there's that as well, but like the odds of that happening, I feel are just pretty slim. Or like,
But
Teams are clever enough; they usually see it coming.
if you hear them building the SG like you said, instead of assuming they won't get it up in time, you can assume there's 2 NGs, let's go rape them.
Oh, that would be something.
Next level.
Walk around Gully Wash and suddenly you hear ding, 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 kind of being like, oh god, they must be building a sentry with the 2 of them.
Exactly.
That's great. I like it.
That's actually something that the ETFTL admins have been talking about since the end of last season. I think it was maybe Numlock brought up, and we may have talked about it in some of those other shows. But
yeah, against the
yeah,
teams.
like what
The
yUKi
health-
said, basically
the
the
health-
speed that it comes up so quickly is slightly broken. But I don't have a strong opinion about it either way. But would you just limit the NG, or are you going to start limiting all the utility classes? Is double sniper overpowered on process last?
Yeah.
Blah blah blah.
That's why I singled out Pyro for a reason. Like, obviously, if you allow the unlocks, the Greaser, Flare Gun, Extinguisher, all those things get into your power. If you have 2 Pyros holding a lot, like, they can hold off something forever, first of all. And second of all, they have the kit to just do a lot of work in close spaces. So that's kind of why I singled out Pyro and Engineer, because I think with unlocks, with just the limit on the class at the moment, I think that might be a little bit broken. I think Engineer very clearly is a no-brainer. I think everyone would say, you know, just throw it limit to 1, like, it's fine.
For the sake of like uniting the rule sets, I'd be fine with like NG limit 1. I mean, yeah, NG limit 1. Like, it's not something I feel strongly about, but keeping it consistent is just one of those things.
I agree.
All right, tell me this then. Just a pie in the sky question. If Valve did come out and say, you know, we'd love to really balance the game a little bit, help you fix some of these broken unlocks, would you be prepared to play one shit season where everything was just a total clusterfuck?
Yes.
Or
I would cast it as well.
As long as it was, I think, as long as it was like this season. As a European, I don't know. It's
It would have
different
to be
from
now.
yeah. It's like it's different for Americans because they have constant like ESEA seasons. So I don't know how they would feel about it. But as a European, if it was this post-LAN season, I'd be absolutely fine with it. But kind of come that January mark, that's when teams really start thinking about. Even if it's 6 months away, still, that's when they really start thinking about I-49. Oh, I-49 Summer I Series. So I don't know. If it was like this season, I'd be fine with it. But if it was going to start messing up like the one worthwhile event in European TF2 a year, then I'd probably be a bit different.
But is there like a danger, looking back at the European history, where we just decide very quickly, without really giving things a chance, that this unlock is bad? And like, you salute the Americans for actually taking the time to play with the quick fix and maybe demonstrating that it is bad. But in Europe, are we missing out because we have this sort of very closed-minded mindset? Should we be more open?
Yeah, probably. Like, is the what's it, the cloak and dagger? Is that still allowed?
Yeah.
Yeah, like
Deadringer as well.
I quite like that stuff. Like, I'm not sure about the degreaser and that stuff, but I really like watching those spy plays that some of these channels at Omar, like the super patient spy. It was so amazing watching him just like sitting there for like 5 minutes cloaked amongst the enemy team, like that sort of stuff. Like, there's stuff that only really subtly affects the game. Like, it doesn't change like round by round. It doesn't change the actual way the game's played, but every now and then when you have a chance to set up a play, like I like that kind of stuff. I do feel like we're missing something there.
It probably actually makes players cleverer as well, because I noticed this is the ESEA, is that as soon as HOG realized, hey, wait a second, it's been a minute since Harblue bombed, why is he not here yet? They just started checking for spies. They realized he is not there. There's no soldier there. There should be, but there's not. It increases players' intelligence, obviously, as well. Like, if he stands there hiding for 5 minutes, at some point you're going to realize there's a class missing on the other side, right? Like, people are going to start counting scouts and soldiers. Them and a medic, obviously. Like,
and you could be super mind gaming them, and Hardblue's just sitting somewhere a soldier the whole time. It's like,
right? You get like the weirdest things, and that all again comes back to like the quick fix debate we had as well. You can mind game people, and that just makes the game a lot more intelligent, and I think a lot more intriguing. Like it actually makes the game better.
And then the whole time Seagull, the demo man, has gone back to spawn, and he's the actual spy, and Hardblu's sitting there. It's just like, what is happening? It's just like the triple mind game. No one knows what's going on. Platinum's just sitting here thinking, what the hell's going on?
Platinum's like, the ship you spy.
Enigma's like, no worries, guys, I'll just go heavy, and no one knows what's happening.
And then in the end, what happens is that Harblue's sitting behind him with the ambassador headshotting Shade from a mile away. It's going to be great. I actually think it's a good idea, kaidus. I like that. I like the whole idea of adding those spy unlocks in and just seeing what's happening. I think it wouldn't be too bad.
I've got some thoughts here from Byte. He just messaged me on Steam. He said, you want weapons that upgrade the meta, not change it. First rule, bringing back any unlock.
That's Europe.
Hence, the quick fix is a great idea, but it needs tweaking. It changes the meta due to no building mobility. It's virtually possible to beat, etc. Oh, wait,
didn't I use the same string of logic to say we shouldn't play with the equalizer though originally?
Yeah, it's the European sort of logic, like ban everything that doesn't add something or isn't perfectly balanced. But I think weapons balance themselves out in a way. Everything can be countered. Everything. The question is, do you need to, like, 2 demo men cannot be countered? That's why we're limited to 1, right? Like all that stuff. You kind of force it around in a way, and I think that in general, it is too good. It would be lovely to just have Valve say, you know what, we heard the competitive community, we're going to tone it down a little bit. And then it will be okay. But if they're not going to do that, we're just going to ban the quick fix because it breaks things. The same way the Wrangler breaks things. But there's unlocks out there that kaidus mentioned, like Cloak and Dagger and stuff like that. It can add something to the game that we Europeans have always said, you know what, screw this. It's not going to add that much. Let's just kind of keep it as far away as possible. And I think it might be, like as kaidus said, once again, it might be time to do it right now. Sort of switch it up. It might be.
It's almost been an hour. Let's hear final thoughts from everyone. I think Reed Marsh actually requested that we somehow put an end to the debate, and each of us should say our ideal rule set. So I'll let you guys go first, and then Steel will at the end.
yUKi, go first.
I just pretty much universal rule sets are just practically NA rule set. I mean, as kaidus said, there are some flaws and strengths for both rule sets, but I think overall the NA rule set just has like the best of both worlds, really, just most versatility. And the unlocks, there's not really that many more than the EU rule set that practically breaks the game. So yeah, pretty much that.
Yeah, it's got to be. Like, pragmatically, the only way we're ever going to get a universal rule set is for Europeans to make the drastic shift. Like, if I was American, I wouldn't change. Like, they have a great scene. Yeah. Like, as far as their scene goes, it's better than ours. They have LANs every 3 or 4 months, and their rule set's got them that far, so I'd just go over to how they do it, just for the sake of getting it all the same everywhere.
Is it really just that? Like, just for the sake of it?
Well, I think they both have their upsides and they both have their downsides. I think the reason there's been this argument for so long is because there's pros and cons to both sides. Yeah. At the end of the day, there is no best rule set. It's all pragmatics at the end of the day, like what works best and what's gonna produce the best results for TF2. And I think universal rule set is gonna produce the best results, but the only way to get there is to use the American rule set because they're never gonna change, and I don't blame them.
So we're just gonna switch. Like, obviously we cannot just switch right now, but I'm sure, like, I see Canfo is listening, he's going to be bringing it up. Admirable, you're still in the ETFL staff channel, probably. Prem Ambassador and all that crap.
Sure.
Yeah, there you go. So I'm sure the ETFL people know what's up. It would be nice. Ramon is just going all over the place at the moment in chat, I'm loving it, but I think if we might just have to. We might just have to. And I don't mind that. I actually think, like Kaidus said, everyone is going to just play with their toys for a month and then we'll be there. But that, like, Admirable, would that be such a bad thing?
No, I sort of started this. I wasn't really. I'm not going to say I was trolling Sunny Black, but I was trying to make people like think about the big picture rather than have this sort of closed-minded thing. And on the ETF2L admin forums, I floated the idea of just having no whitelist for season 16, just to see what sort of reaction we get. And I think people in the EU are more open to unlocks than they ever have been, but I don't think that idea I floated was actually a good one. I'd be happy to stay with the unlock we have, but at the same time, unless we have any sort of buy-in from Valve, if we can have any sort of faith in Valve that they're going to balance things, I don't think there's any point in just pouring all this shit into the game. Point. Let the Americans find out what works best. That's what's worked for EU so far. Let them have to endure all that unlock madness, and we'll pick the best ones, and then we'll steal the rule set as well. Okay.
Okay, fine. So we figured it out. We figured out, you know what, screw it, we're going to unify the rule set, we can make this one happen, but it has to be Europe making it happen. And yUKi can just kind of make the people down under do the exact same thing. I think that would be great. But now comes the kicker, and it's something I want to talk about for just a little bit. I know, we're already running a little bit late, we've been going for an hour, it's fine. Maps. What do we do with that?
All of the maps, all of the time.
Serious, or oh Jesus Christ, please God, no.
I don't care, man. If I'm not gonna be playing in the season, that's why I'm trying to just fuck everybody over with all these unlocks. Playing all the maps, man. Mario Kart, whatever, you know. Do it up.
Team to wear. Let's do it.
I sort of flip-flop on all these decisions. At one point, you know, I'm happy to have just 5 CP maps, and then we play some Koth, and it seems good. Maybe we should have some more Koth maps. I like the look of the new ESEA map set, and if we have the NA rule set where you have a full week to practice a map, and you can get that sort of intense practice where you're just playing one map, I don't think it would be too hard to adapt.
Yeah, it's so much easier to add new maps. This is something I didn't say. This is something I ranted about on Pirate Radio like before. It's so much easier to add new maps with the NA like rules, just because you can practice them solidly for a week. When you add a new rule to the EU, a new map to the EU rule set, like it will get added at the start of the season. You'll play it 3 times before the season starts, and then you'll forget all about it until it's time to play it. And when it's time to play it, you suddenly find that you've got 3 or 4 maps you need to practice because everyone's got wildcards. Everyone's used their wildcards. You've got 2 maps just to play, and you can't train it. And so then you play it, and you're like, this is shit. This is a shit game. No one's having fun. No one's enjoying watching it because it's so messy. It's not the map's fault. It's not even really the team's fault. It's just the system's fault.
I made the point on my stream actually 2-3 months ago when I was still streaming that a new map should always be put in week 1 or week 2, like straight in your face, like done, figure it out, and just kind of the way. Like I think Viaduct, seriously, I think Viaduct, the way it worked out last season for ETF2L and just for Europe in general, it's been unbelievably well. But I think it could have been even better if you just throw it in ETF to week 1, season 15 here, week 1. Infuse is playing Epsilon on Viaduct.
The problem I always had with that is it gives problems to these new teams that form. Like they just formed, and then they have to start off by playing a map they've never played before. For established teams, I think it would be good because it would let you just train the map straight away without any problems. But if I was a new team and I was just trying to get used to like playing with new players, trying to get new chemistry, I wouldn't really want to have to play a map that I've never touched before. It wouldn't really tell me where my team's at. Like if I'm in a new team, I want to play Badlands and Granary because then you can just kind of establish what's working with your team. Like, do your players work together or do they not? So I kind of agree and disagree at the same time, I guess.
Makes sense. So with regards to new maps, yUKi, do you like the new Oz Fortress season? Has maps been announced yet? Has the season been announced? What's going on over there? I actually haven't paid attention to it.
It's not been announced yet. Like we're currently in the middle of Oz Fortress Cup, which is like just a cup that's been running for like a month so now, and culminates like this Sunday. But the idea with it right now is just a map pool of 5 maps. I think it's Viaduct, Badlands, Granary, Snakewater, Gully Wash, or like one of them's Snakewater or Gully Wash is removed for process, if I remember. And as I said, each team eliminates one, then each team picks one, and then the last map is the tiebreaker if needed. But I think 5 maps isn't enough, really. I think it's ESEA has 7, 8. 7?
Seven.
Yeah. Like
Yeah, you
seven's,
kind of want
seven's
to have an odd
a
number,
nice
right?
number.
It's
Yeah,
kind of-
exactly. You want to have a nice number. I think 5 is too little because like, but way less variety of maps. 7 is just about right. I mean, I think Quake Live had like, can't be bothered remembering them all, but I'm pretty sure it's close to 7. So good variety. But I'd like to see. I don't know. I'm not sure if Attack Defend should make a return or not, just to kind of derail a bit there. I mean, I guess Gravel Pit. When you think about Gravel Pit, like it's already been figured out what should have been, because like Attack Defend, there's less points. There's less. Yeah, there's less situations that can arise, etc., etc. Compared to like push maps and Koth maps. Like Koth maps are awesome because there's stuff going on practically all the time. Like there's so much action. I don't know. I'd like to see more Koth maps though, for sure. Are there more Koth maps this season for ESA? I actually didn't check. Oh,
like the
actually,
improved Asheville, I think it is. Like Asheville 2.0. Like ESA, what is it? I can't remember the season, but it was a few seasons ago where they added Asheville, but it wasn't really tested. So it was just terrible throughout the season, and they've now decided to kind of give it another go. Cold Plant is like sort of the updated version from what I heard. We'll have to wait and see. I don't know a lot about the map. I haven't checked it out yet. What do we personally think? Like Admirable, kaidus, Metalworks, and Coal Plant are the sort of odd ones out. The ones we haven't played here in Europe. Are those maps that we should be using to sort of unify it more, or is that just like let's stay as far away as possible just for the time being?
I like Metalworks. I tried to get it in at the start of the season 15, but there just wasn't really any popular opinion behind it. But it's just me.
Metalworks is like, I think it might be one for the future. I'm kind of, for the moment, I'm kind of content to let the Yanks keep playing Metalworks and letting the map. I think the mapper is still working on it. I'm kind of content just let them play it now, and the map will refine it over time, because I don't really think it's great at the moment. I think it could be good, but right now it's kind of like a bit of a, I don't know, I don't like Snake Water. So I'll say it's a bit of a Snake Water in my opinion, where it's like it works, it plays fluent games, but it's not really that enthralling to watch, and I don't think, in its current form, I don't think it ever will be that enthralling to watch, but it could be maybe with some work. And as for Coal Plant, don't know. I used to hate it when it was Asheville. I hated it, but I hated Viaduct then as well. I just didn't like Koth in general, so I was completely reserved judgment on that one.
Is it a bad thing that the ETF2 map pool at the moment is 6 maps? For like the Nations Cup, for example, it's Badlands, Gullywash, Granary, Process, Snakewater, and Viaduct. Those 6. I can't see any one of those maps missing, but on the other hand, I'm also a little bit torn. Like, you kind of want to have an odd number, right? So you can ban them out properly, or like veto them out and then pick, and kind of have the best of 3 system in place. I know ESEA, I'm quite sure it was 8 maps that they had in ESEA LAN this season. Which confused the hell out of me, because basically you get this veto system where there's 2 maps left. It's kind of like, well, but how do you pick? It's kind of a little bit confusing. Would we have to go to 5 or 7, or is this map pool of 6 that we have right now perfectly fine?
For the season, it doesn't matter. 7 would be fine, because there's 7 weeks in the season.
Yeah.
So you could have one different map each week, or you know what I mean.
Twice. Every map twice. Yeah.
Honestly, I don't think the number matters, because it was debated at length before in the forums about which maps to add, and I think the ETF2L admin consensus eventually was just like, if a map isn't really that good, why add it? Just keep it simple. Keep the ones that people actually like. I think there was like a vote, and any map that had more than 50% popularity was more or less good to go. And Granary was about the borderline there.
I do remember that, actually. It's true. I guess Metalworks will wait. I guess that's a consensus. Do you guys use it? Have you guys been playing it, yUKi, over there? Or have you guys just been like, well, we know it's happening in North America, but we are not paying attention to it?
I don't think there's discussion for it at all. Like, I've looked around, I haven't seen like much discussion at all. I think it was played in like some league for like a week, and that's pretty much it. I don't think people were like, oh yeah, it's a good map, or it's a bad map. I think it's an okay map. As Kato said, it needs just a bit of work, needs a bit of time, some fine tuning. Like, I don't like the approach to second that much. It's a bit but apart from that, it's a pretty good map. But yeah, we haven't really played it here extensively.
So, general consensus, if I summarize everything we've done tonight, it would be an ideal scenario for ETF12 to go into 2 halves 2 maps in 2 games every single week for 7 weeks. We play every team twice, and we adopt their own locks as well. Kind of look at it to make sure it's not super terrible. Is that a general consensus?
Wait, when you say
Wait,
2
what?
maps, you mean same map?
Well,
But, like, 2
basically,
games, the same map?
there's 6 or 7 maps in a map pool. There's going to be 7 weeks of play. You play every team twice because there's 7 opponents. So you play every map twice. Does that make sense?
Don't put your words in my mouth, Pledge. You tell me what you
Yeah,
want,
sorry,
and I'll tell you
yeah.
what I want.
No, but this is genuinely what I think would be a nice sort of way of doing things. I would like that. Like 14 maps in total per season. 14 games and 14 maps.
Yeah, that's my bad. I misinterpreted you. I thought you said 2 maps
Oh,
like,
no. Just,
per week, and I'm just like, what? No,
well, it is
not-
2
not
maps
with
per
2
week, but
halves.
you played against 2 opponents
Yeah.
on 2 different times. That's the way I'm saying it. Would
But,
that be
but
like...
it's the same map, right?
One
Yeah,
map
it's
for
two
week.
fixtures.
It's one map. Yeah.
So 7 weeks, 7 maps, and then every week you play 1 map twice against 2 opponents.
Yeah.
That way. Would that be, like, if ETFSO adopts that right now, or are you going to be unifying everything? Is Admirable's quest for success going to work if we do that?
I'd say we're pretty damn close, really. I mean, like, the rule set's the main thing. The maps can be, like, there can be teething time for that. They can be figured out. People can watch it for a bit and be like, oh yeah, this map's pretty good, we'll chuck it in. They will within time for sure. But yeah, the main thing is the rule set and the format, like the fixtures each week. Yeah.
I think we're going to have our hand forced by ESEA, although people were saying Sonny Black has the power. And obviously he's still in that ETF12 admin circle jerk, so really, and Sonny Black we trust. I think he's just going
made the
to
ETF12
knock it out
16
the
news
park.
post. And they actually changed it quite quickly because I linked the news post on my Twitter and it said posted by Sonny Black. And I was like, lol, Sonny Black actually made the news post. So yeah, he's still around, but that's pretty much it.
I still like a compromise, but I think we're definitely going to just have to, or potentially ESEA are just going to call the shots. But I like what you were saying about, I know it's like I'm probably just rehashing a million of forum threads, but just like the slightly longer time limit, like a 40-minute, 2 20-minute halves, and like 3 rounds a half win limit or something like that, you know, where you get the chance to play a longer game and play out close games. You still get that half-time break, so you can come back, you can try and turn the game around, but you're not necessarily going to be stuck there for 60 minutes. But then again, this is me doing what Nullflow hates and spouting off stuff without actually looking at the data. Maybe I'll have to open up Excel tomorrow and just crunch the numbers, man.
We'll have a little bit of a look. I think that'll be a good idea. If I have a little bit.
I mean, it's a potential for it to go to 60 minutes. It's not like it always will. I mean, you look at other games, like, say, StarCraft, for example, just why not? Like, the games, like, you look at an average game, you're like, oh yeah, it'll go for 20 minutes, and then you see one going for like an hour, and you're just like, oh my god, and you just start saying, move this map or something, when it's just, really, the end of the day, it does come down to the players and the teams, and how they play against each other. It's not necessarily the rule set's fault. But on that note, like, the EU rule set kind of, like, it's kind of broken in a way in that it's not always about how both teams play. It's more about how one team plays. Yeah. So like one team can just get that 1 round advantage and then just go, well, screw you, we want to stay 1-0 up. We want to win. But yeah.
So we can actually see like Europeans parking the bus again. It's going to be great.
Well, it was Australians parking the bus against Americans, so it wasn't even, Europeans weren't even involved.
No, it's kind of always been this thing from the past, like Europeans park the bus, and then over the past year and a half, it's really only been the Americans parking buses. It's kind of just been a thing, but it's the way it is. Any final words before we go into shout out? You haven't been saying anything for the past like 5 to 10 minutes or something. Anything you want to add?
No, I think it's all pretty much covered. Yeah, we were just like summarizing. I think.
Yep.
Or did I zone out? I think, yeah, I said I had my say.
You ready to go up with hunt some snipers for the next 2-3 weeks?
I'm ready. I've been practicing. While Infused aren't playing, I've been working on my hunt some sniping.
That's gonna be
it's
great.
the Spawn Dust Bowl pub practice.
Oh god. Please don't add Dust Bowl. Alright, I'm done with that match. Shout outs, obviously, to close on off. Kaidus, first of all, go ahead.
Shout out to Infused, TTE Sports, sponsors, blah 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 blah. Shout out to Ips and Ramon and Fribs. I'll cut it.
Alright. And your stream? Always your stream, man. What is it?
Twitch.tv/kaidus. Tune in every now and then.
yUKi?
Community and sponsors, community and everyone that's been watching, especially the community for helping us get to I-49. We will be getting around to the perks and the stretch goals. Don't worry about that. We haven't forgotten about it. I'm already like starting to draft up stuff for the next videos and all that jazz. Doctor and anyone else that I've missed, you're awesome.
Do you guys have to do like videos of you guys singing karaoke or something? What were the perks? Do you need to just sign weapons?
Oh, no. The perks are like signing weapons, mentoring. There's like some newbie mix that we're doing with specific donators. And the stretch goals. The stretch goals are like map tutorials and class tutorials, so it'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, sounds good. Maybe we'll see some of that on Twitch as Kaidus is almost dying of laughter. The chat has been very... I have to say, the chat's been quite funny today. No one has been spamming Kappa faces just yet, and they probably will now that I've said it, but the chat has been quite nice. It's been cracking Kaidus up all night, just quite funny. And not admirable, actually, which is... yeah. Admirable's probably just...
I'm not
just
with it, man.
Yeah, that's the way it is.
Brain not functioning. Chemical imbalance.
Do you have any shout-outs, Admirable?
Yeah, shout out to Pledge and John for actually making this thing happen, because I sort of dropped the ball a little bit, you know. But
Someone like you.
It was.
He's always here in time. What are you talking about?
It wasn't as professional and insightful and as I'd hoped, but you know, you guys carried the can. I'm here. Yeah. I appreciate that, and also to yUKi for getting up super early in the morning. Jason for being super handsome.
Thanks.
There you go. Sounds good. And just for me to close off the show, obviously big shout out to John for hopping in when Skyride couldn't, because Skyrride's an idiot and he breaks internets all the time. So John just hopping in here because I already paid the Sky Premium to him. That's all good. That's it for Team Fortress TV, ladies and gentlemen. We're still working on our casting lineup. I heard I Like to Spin is going to be coming to cast full time, which is going to hop on in with myself and Admirable for the cast at Team Fortress TV. I heard rumors of DJC, but I heard that it's very unlikely rumors. But if that would happen, we would have a four-man casting lineup.
I'm going to cast a lot more this season.
Are you? Are you
yeah.
like promising that to me right now?
But for everybody, you know, I still check out to Blackout Gaming.
Just in general, James, you're actually going to be useful this season. Is that what you're saying? Yeah,
I'll be here. I got to win my title back, man. Caster of the season. You're a joke, Pledge.
Just get over one season. Leave me alone, man. That's fine. I'm actually applying to be a League of Legends caster. I actually wrote my resume today, so I might actually be leaving you guys over the next time, but who knows?
You bastard.
We'll have to wait and see, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for watching us here on Team Fortress TV. We did the European fully charged episode. If you're just joining, you're way too late. Episode number 3. Kind of are doing these all over the place because obviously there's no season going on or anything. My internet has been absolutely crap, but I spoke to my building owners basically, and they said they're get right on it. That was 2 weeks ago. So I guess we'll just have to wait and see. When my internet's better, I'll feel a little bit more comfortable doing these things, because right now it's just sometimes you can see me, sometimes you can and can't, and for a host that's a little bit weird. But as soon as the season starts, we're going to be trying to get back on track as well. Usually every Thursday evening. Again, Admirable planned this one, so it's on Tuesday evening. That's the way it works. We'll be back, and obviously all the news, you can find that on Twitter. You can find me at Patrick Ledge, at Team Fortress TV as well. You can find Admirable at Admirable Player. You could use your Twitter, do you, or do you not?
I use it a little bit. I don't use a huge amount, but I might start using it more regularly. Oh, wait, were you asking me for mine? Sorry, because I had like 3 Steam conversations pop up just then.
Throw out your Twitter right now. Come on.
My Twitter is yUKstar, so that's YOOKSTAH.
There you go. if you guys have that, go and follow him on Twitter as well. Follow us at teamfortress.tv is where you can find us, guys. This was it for us tonight. It was the 3rd episode of Fully Charged. It's been a pleasure once again doing this for you guys, and let's hope we can finally sort of unify everything together as we Europeans have decided to give in to our North American overlords. I think that's the best way of saying it. As Admirable brought some people together, and who knows, ETF 12 might be listening to this and we might be getting some stuff done. We'll have to wait and see exactly what's going to happen. Obviously, for all of us here, guys, have a very good night. We'll be back with more coverage of the Nations Cup, the 6v6 Nations Cup, which is still going on. Highlander ended yesterday. Go and watch those VODs at youtube.com/teamfortress.tv. The Americans won, spoiler alert, but the game was pretty damn intense. Well, Lakeside was. Barn Blitz wasn't very much so. But that's okay. Don't worry about that. Go and watch that. Thanks for watching, guys. It's been a massive pleasure. We'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.